everybody, and welcome back to Signed the Traitors. We are a Traitors recap podcast, and today we'll be talking about episode 8 of the Traitors Canada. I am your host, Katie. I am here with my co-host, as always, Javier, and we are joined by special guest Janelle today, and we are brought to you by Silent Podcast, where we are anything but silent. Janelle, welcome. How are you?
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I am excited to talk with you guys about this season, or this episode rather. I've been loving it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Share your season thoughts too. I know this is your first time with us this season, so we're happy to talk about anything you want. Javier, how are you doing this week? It's good to see you as always.
Yes, it's great to be back with you, Katie. Thank you so much for joining us, Janelle. But yeah, no, I'm excited. Sad episode, but I feel like there's a lot to talk about, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
They did give us a lot to talk about this week. That's for sure. That's one thing. We've been getting a lot of content from these people. Whether we agree or we disagree, we've been getting a lot of content, so I guess we can't really complain, but spoiler alert, I'm going to be complaining again this episode, just like I did last episode and the episode before and the episode before. So just come to expect it. Janelle, since this is your first time with us, give us your history on the Traitors. Have you watched other seasons before? Is this your first? Which ones have you seen?
No, I haven't. I've watched part of Cerie's season just as a Cerie fan. Did not follow it all the way through. This one I have, though. The show is very confusing to me because I'm like, so what do you have to go off of? You just, she scratched her ear weird. So she must be a traitor. So I don't really love that part of it. I don't love the fact that there are no real tales and people just make things up in their head. Like I heard somebody on this episode say, I played a good game. Well, what does that look like? I don't know. It's just an interesting show to me. So when I started watching, I was confused about that. I was like, well, what do people go off of? So it's been interesting to see how it unfolds, what makes people suspicious, what makes people think that somebody else is a traitor. All that has been super, super interesting. But what brought me to this season was Kuzi.
Of course. I
absolutely loved her on Big Brother Canada. I love her personality, everything about her. And honestly, she was so hype on social media about this. She was really, really, really pumping it up. So I was like, I must tune in. And I'm starting to love it. I really, really do. I don't think this is going to be my last season. And I'm now super excited for US's version coming up next year.
Yeah, we have a great cast lined up. And I know Kuzi's your girl, so that's why I wanted to ask, is this out of the love of Kuzi or the show or now both maybe, which it sounds like maybe we have a convert, which is exciting. Yeah. Great. Any thoughts top of mind that you guys want to get off your chest before we jump right in to this breakfast? Because we didn't even get a deliberation before we opened up to the breakfast, which is how I knew things were just not going to go in our. I just had a feeling as soon as we opened to breakfast, I knew.
Yeah. Nope. I have nothing. I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah, I'm just ready to dive in as well.
All right, let's dive in. Let's open the door. We'll walk right into breakfast. We didn't get a conclave, like I said, which I thought was interesting. And I just felt like, okay, drama's on the way, because if we're not getting, usually like we end in a cliffhanger every week so far, pretty much we've left in a cliffhanger. And, you know, I guess we normally do open to breakfast, but we do still see a little deliberation. And this week we didn't. We just opened right to the door. So I was like, uh-oh. And we saw Leroy and Donna, who I would say my girl Donna, but I'm going to say formerly my girl Donna, because she was doing a lot of mental gymnastics this episode, and I really can't wait to get into it. But we knew, I mean, Leroy's name was on the chopping block for murder, but we knew from the preview, kind of spoiled us last week, that both he and Mickey were safe, so we kind of knew that it was going to be between Trevon and May. But Donna and Leroy seem to really solidify their connection here. Donna's feeling the heat. Leroy, finally somebody speaks and says, we have to ignore this red versus blue thing. We can't do this anymore. And I was just like, finally, Leroy, you woke up and you said what I've been screaming the last few weeks, like, we can't do this anymore. And I'm just so glad that he felt the same way.
Yes, finally. And I'm also super curious as to how the rest of that deliberation between Kuzi and Mike went. Was he pushing for May to go so that he could do this, so that he could do what we later see him doing? That's what I really, really, truly want to know.
I would like to know as well. And I did take a note when we get toward, you know, we get a little bit of a flashback, but I have questions because we got an interesting confessional from Mike last week. And then I agree with you, Janelle. I'm curious, like, was this part of the plan? Which it seems like it probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Donna. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say like this is something that me and Katie were talking about last week, Janelle, a little bit. Just that this was we have felt that there are many times where Mike keeps getting his way, unfortunately, and we were saying that if May dies, this would be the worst case scenario for Kuzi. And I wanted to see a bit more conversation to see how we got to the point where Kuzi was like, fine, we can kill May off. But it does seem like Kuzi was with it, like you said, Katie, because later on in the episode, it seems like Kuzi was like, yeah, I had to get May out first, because we do get like a little flashback a few minutes in. But yeah, I would have liked to see a bit more of that deliberation, because it was very disappointing on my end, especially because I am a big May fan. So I was also sad to see May go.
Yeah, I feel like Mike had to have pushed this. I feel like Kuzi might have went along with it and been okay with it based off the reasoning, but I feel like Mike had his wheels turning, unfortunately.
Yeah, Mike has always got those freaking wheels turning. He doesn't stop. Before we jump to that, there are a few small tidbits. Donna throws out Mike's name to Leroy, which is interesting, and this is where I start to have a bone to pick with Donna, because we see her flip-flopping all over the place on this Mike name. Leroy says that hearing the suspicion on Mike threw him for a loop, which I think is interesting. And Mickey gives us maybe the first piece of game talk that we've ever gotten from Mickey. And he says that he feels like he and Donna are just being kept alive because everybody sees them as gullible. But he says he's pretending to be gullible, and this is his plan, and then he's going to squash them in the end. So I think he said like game on bitch or something. Do we buy this from Mickey, or is no, right?
No,
not even a little
bit. In the least bit.
That was his one brain cell working for that like 1 second.
Yes.
And it allowed him to say a very self-aware DR, but I do not think Mickey is still in this game at all.
No, I don't think he was ever in the game at all. Not even like still in this game. I don't think he was ever in the game.
He's chilling. He's been chilling. Nobody's talking about him. He's just there. I don't know what he thinks, how he feels, who he's cool with. I don't care about him.
I know. He's a mess. Leroy comes in. Mike comes in the second wave of people, and Leroy's talking to him, and he says that he was surprised that his name came up in the round table. And Mike was like, well, my name comes up at every round table. And Donna then says, this is why I'm not suspicious of you anymore, because you've been so consistent. And I'm like, ma'am, not more than 5 minutes ago, did you just say to Leroy that you don't trust Mike? So, like, what are we doing, Donna?
Playing
What's
him,
going on with
guess.
her girl?
I hope
she's playing me.
Yeah, us. I hope that's her game plan, is that she's trying to make people feel trying to make people think that she's cool with them and that she believes in them and she doesn't have any doubt. Because if that's the case, she's not going to get killed off, at least in her mind, right? That's what I think Donna's doing, because she was so hot on people's lips the first half of the game, and then everybody forgot she existed. That's how I feel the edit did anyway. Nobody talked about her. Nobody talked to her. She was just there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, exactly. I would hope to see moving forward that Donna does something game-wise. Because, is this strategy where she is actually like trying to be nice to Mike and keep him off her radar? Or is she just, one moment she just feels some way and Mike says one thing and then she just flips right around to be Team Mike again? Like, so I would hope to see some strategy, because I still feel like we have not seen any strategy from Donna. Is the Mike read a good read? I guess. But if you don't really act on it or you don't do anything with that read, like, is it really a read or just like a hunch? So I don't know. Donna still isn't giving game to me. She is entertaining to watch, but she's still not giving game to me. So I don't know if this is game or not, this whole like Mike situation with her.
Yeah, it's like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it. Donna, if the game's falling in the forest and no one's around to hear your reads, like, what are we doing here? Yeah. Trevon walks in after Gerline, and this is the reveal that May is gone, because the last 3 people left are Kuzi, May, and Trevon. And I think I wrote in my notes that in all caps, like, what is happening here? But like mentally I was screaming watching this, because I just don't, and this is exactly, I agree with you both. I want to see more of this deliberation up in the conclave, because I don't know possibly what Mike could have said to Kuzi to make her agree to this, because this does not make any sense to me. No sense whatsoever.
Yeah, none. That's just my best hunch, because it seems like he had this in the works. So she's not an idiot. We've seen her do this and kill this game and come back from this or that. So I think it had to be him pushing it. I'm interested to see. I haven't watched any exit press for this, so I'm interested to see what Kuzi has to say. Have either of you seen any?
I haven't seen any actual exit press. I've seen some clips that Big Brother Canada, oh my God, that Traitors Canada has posted on their social media, just like revealing who the traitors are, but not any actual exit press so far. I know it's out there. I haven't engaged in much of it yet, but maybe after the season I'll do a binge.
Yeah. I mean, so I just want to say, May, everyone who's listening, y'all know that I've been Team May at her height, at her low points. I've always been Team May. So I'm just sad to see her go. She finally had a good read with Kuzi, and unfortunately that led to her death. And like I said, I do not think it's a good gameplay at all on Kuzi's part. So we know what turn happens out for Kuzi, but the moment this happened in my brain, I was like, well, unfortunately, I think it's over for Kuzi after this episode. So the whole episode, I was just like on edge and mad that like, oh my God, Mike's doing this. Come on, Kuzi, turn on him finally. And this was like the first moment where I was starting to get very frustrated. So that's how I felt at that moment.
Yeah. I know. Javier, I'm sorry. This has been a rough couple of weeks for you in terms of your faves. Yes. I know we had it out a little bit last week about May, and I truly did not think we were going to see her leave this week. I really didn't. I was shocked. I was truly shocked by this.
Yeah, I'm not a May fan, but I think mostly because she's always got daggers for my favorite. Like if you are out for who I'm rooting for, I'm very petty in that way. Even if I understand the other person's motivations, I don't care. Like get away from my favorite, So I was just like, oh, shut up, May. I don't know. And her voice got on my nerves, but besides that, she's cool.
I know. I was saying to Javier last week when we talked about the episode that I was like, if I was playing this game with May, I would just want to vote her out because she annoys me.
Yes.
Which is, she's out, I guess, but maybe not like this. Maybe this isn't what we actually wanted. I don't know.
Right.
We get a flashback to the conclave. Kuzi's kind of celebrating here, which again is like confusing to me. She's saying, May nearly got me, but I got her first. And I'm like, this is not something we should be celebrating, Kuzi. I love you, but I don't think this is the move here. And Mike, we get a confessional saying, Kuzi, if you get out of this one, you're the real magician. So this is my question, is that last week Mike did say that he was going to frame Kuzi. At the end of the episode, he was like, I'm going to frame her. This is the time to make my move. Do we feel like this was him framing her on purpose to get rid of May and this was his strategy? Or do we feel like they agreed on this and then afterward he was like, oh, I can use this to frame her?
I think he was thinking in his mind, because didn't he say to her, I think they discussed the fact that if they kill Trayvon, they're going to look at him. If they kill May, they're going to look at her. They did. That I think he had those wheels turning and knowing that if he got May killed, that more people were going to be looking at Kuzi, considering the contention they had at the previous roundtable. I think it is. I don't want to give him that much credit, but I think it was just more ammunition that he had to use against her because he went full force in this episode.
He sure did.
And I think the win here was Gurleen. Like if Kuzi had any inkling, I think if she had gotten in there and been able to speak to Gurleen, because that was the one swap right there. She would have voted. She still would have got a freaking traitor. That's the thing. Like if she would have voted the other way, she would have gotten another traitor. And I feel like trust would have been solidified with Kuzi as opposed to freaking Mike.
Yeah. I totally
agree. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I totally agree, and we'll definitely talk more about it. But Javier, I want to know your thoughts here too. Like we talked last week about this Kuzi Mike war and who we thought was going to win, and I think if we were playing the long game here and Kuzi had her wherewithal to say like, you know what, I think Mike is coming for me, she could have had the numbers, but I think he just struck when she wasn't expecting it. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I think this is what like you said, we were talking about this last week. I feel like Mike has unfortunately been setting Kuzi up for like the past like 2 weeks or so. And, him getting his way again with the May killing was another way of him, one-upping Kuzi, unfortunately. And even throughout this episode, we see it, Mike is consistently saying, I need to get Kuzi out. And Kuzi is saying, I need to get Mickey out.
Right.
And I love Kuzi. Again, she was my second. I was rooting for her and Kevin all game, but like unfortunately, I do think Mike outplayed Kuzi. So like Janelle said earlier, I need to hear Kuzi like exit interviews. Like, why was she really wanted to stick so badly behind Mike, and never even thought that maybe Mike could be playing her. So is Mike Smith that good? I don't know.
I don't think so. I just
I don't know. It seems, I mean,
Right.
evidence is saying, I don't know. But back to the breakfast, we get some reactions. Everyone kind of is like, well, Kuzi's here. Maybe they recruited and May's going to come in, but obviously May is gone. And Leroy is saying, you know, everyone's surprised. Leroy saying that the Traitors are doing an amazing job, which I truly beg to differ here, Leroy. I mean, it just seems so obvious to me. I mean, obviously I'm not in the house and we're watching knowing who the Traitors are, so we have that advantage, but it just feels so obvious to me that everybody that picks a fight with one of the Traitors is gone immediately. But whatever. And then we get a confessional of Kuzi saying, tonight is your night to catch me. Catch me. Catch me. She's daring. Catch me. And I'm like, no. We don't want them to catch you, Kuzi. Girl, we don't want that. We don't want that.
I'm like, they're setting her up. Stop. Like,
yeah, this was a
famous
setup
last
episode.
words. Famous last words for Kuzi. The only other thing that, I don't know if this happened before or after Leroy, maybe we're going to bring this up, but we get like a Gerline confessional.
Yes, I have that next. But go for it. You go for it.
Yeah, no, we get a Gerline confessional saying that she's on to Kuzi, unfortunately, that she's basically having thoughts about Kuzi. And, you know, that was just, you know, I got sad about the May death. And then when I heard Gerline, her closest ally, said that, I was like, I think it's a wrap for Kuzi this episode. Just that was like another nail in the coffin for Kuzi to see that Gerline turned her back on her. So I was very sad about that.
Yeah. Gerline has been a little suspicious because she was mad that she voted for Fierce. She was mad that she voted for Kevin, although that annoyed me because why wouldn't she in that spot when Kevin threw her under the bus? But I'm like, I like Gerline, and I think that they could have potentially recruited her. But I was just like, man, if Kuzi just would have gotten to her, and I feel like if Kuzi would have gotten to Gerline with some trinkets about Mike, but she did not know to do so. She was riding for Mike still. So I wonder how each of them feel watching this back, because she was riding hard for him and he's over there plotting her demise. Terrible.
I know. And we talked a lot last week about Kuzi and the amount of information she was sharing. And part of me wonders, like, if she really was forthcoming with Mike about, here was a conversation with Mel A. This is how your name came up. This is what she said. This was my response. I just want to fill you in. Like, I wasn't throwing your name. I wasn't pushing you, but I couldn't defend you too hard because I didn't want to look suspicious, but here's the lowdown of everything that happened. I wonder if maybe Mike would have still come for her. And we could talk about this more maybe when we get to the round table, but he did use this as part of his reason. And I'm wondering, like, if she was just more open about that information, would things have still gone down this road or not? And again, maybe I'm jumping a little far ahead, but just something I was thinking about as I was watching the episode. Like, I just wish she... I don't know. I want to see more of these deliberations in the conclave. I want to see more about what her mindset was behind all these murders, because just like the math isn't mathing for me, and I don't know how we landed on these moves so many times. Like, I just feel like all of these murders were really risky. We could have killed a Leroy, we could have killed a Mickey, we could have killed a Donna. Those are the types of people where they're not causing issues. I don't know. It just seems like they just made so many choices were made here. I just don't, in a row. I just don't understand what's going on. Yeah. So I guess long story short, I agree with you, and I will be listening to Kuzi's exit interview when it's out there.
I'm wondering sorry, Javier. I'm wondering, since she was so loyal to him and talking about the fact that she needed him when she said, it's going to be bad if Mike goes. Yeah. Why? I don't understand why she felt like she needed him so badly and why she couldn't ride this out by herself. Like, if the heat was on me, or I got the sense that people were talking about me and I knew people had previously been talking about Mike, I would have been on that train. So I'm curious when she wanted to cut him, or were you planning on trying to cut him? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say one thing. I guess, again, this might be jumping ahead to the end of the episode, but, you know, this brings me the idea that I don't think that getting rid of Kuzi is even good for Mike's game. I think that so days are numbered in the house as well. So I think Kuzi might have been thinking long game, like, I need Mike to survive. And Mike is thinking a little bit more short term, and I think that's why Mike is more, forthcoming with making these moves that hurt Kuzi. So that's kind of how I look at the picture. Is it a good move to get rid of Kuzi? No, but I kind of see where Mike is coming from, because he's starting to I feel like he's getting nervous that all the eyes might turn on him if he doesn't go for Kuzi first. So maybe he sees it as if I get out a traitor, then the people will support me more. But either way, I don't think it's a good game for him either.
I hope it's not.
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts about Mike and his moves here and the round table and how he handled the whole situation, but I'll save that for the round table because I have feelings. But we can get into the post-breakfast scenes. Everybody's chatting. Leroy still clueless. He has no speculation on anybody whatsoever. He has no reason to suspect Kuzi. He has no clue what's going on. Shocking. But he's talking to Gurleen, and he says he doesn't get a good read on Mike. And Gurleen's like, yeah, I don't get like a read at all on Mike. Donna is pissed. She's like, there's 2 traitors left. And then she goes, what if it's Mike? And I'm like, Donna, you're literally giving me whiplash. First at the breakfast table, you say it's Mike. Then you say to Mike, oh, I don't suspect you because you've been consistent this whole time. And now she's saying, what if it's Mike? I'm like, what is the spirit telling you, Donna? What is the nether region, or that's Big Brother's on my brain for some reason today. I don't know why. But like, what are the spirits? What visions are you having here? Because you're seeing Mike in your brain. Go forward with that thought. That doesn't mean he's safe. That means he's bad. Or like, maybe you're just not a medium at all. I don't know. She's a mess.
Oh, I forgot she was a medium.
Yes, she's a medium. She's a medium.
I think Donna just sways with the wind, honestly. Whoever gives the last strong argument with a little bit of passion gets Donna's brain cells that week, or that moment anyway. That's all
I agree. And I also think that Leroy's like that. So I think that's why we're getting this Leroy and Donna duo. Because, if one person says something that they like, I'm on your team. 5 minutes later, this person says it, I'm on your team. And that's what they just do. And, it's just not good gameplay, I feel. But I guess it is good gameplay in the long run, because no one will kill you because people think they can manipulate you. But I agree. That's kind of Donna's gameplay. And I feel like that's Leroy's gameplay too. They're just going to go with whatever they last heard.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like Leroy and Donna are playing a very Quentin game. I won't say Andy, because I feel like Andy was very snowed by Suri in US, so I understand why they, whether I agree with it or not, I understand why they didn't vote for Suri at the end as a traitor, but Quentin was just snowed this whole time. He just had no clue. He just had no idea. So, and that's the vibe I'm getting from Donna and Leroy here, and that's not bad gameplay, because the traitors will take you to the end, but then you have to have like a little bit of a clue to be able to vote out a traitor at the end in order to win, because getting you to the end doesn't get you anything unless you can win. So I wouldn't be surprised if Leroy and Donna both make it to the end and neither one of them has a clue if there's a traitor left in their midst. They will have no idea, and they're not going to win any money. They're a mess.
Yes, I agree with you.
They're just a mess. Mike tells us in a confessional that he's going to war, and he's immediately throwing out Kuzi's name. Kuzi this, Kuzi that. And he really made a decision, and he's sticking to that decision. He did not waver at all. He took the shot, and then it's like he didn't even take the shot. He took a knife and he stabbed her in the back, and now he's just twisting. Every conversation he has, he's just twisting and twisting and twisting. And he's not letting up. This is basically the whole episode. He's burying her.
Yes. Each and every single conversation. That's why I wish that somebody if she even had an inkling, she would have went to work. And I think had she known, she could have outplayed him. She could have. She
absolutely
could have got Gurleen. She would have been okay.
Yeah, I think even at the round table, it almost seemed like she almost flipped it. So I just, I wish someone told her. I just wish someone was like, Mike's really pushing you hard. So I don't know what's going on. I just wish somebody said something, but what can we do?
I don't know.
Donna in the confessional we get from her tells us that May and Kuzi going at it made her suspicious because May is murdered. This is weird. So these are just like, little things are all just adding up. This conspiracy and this framing of Kuzi seems to unfortunately be working. And we see a conversation between Kuzi and Gurleen. She says she's being framed. Today, her whole day was going to be going after May. She didn't want May to get murdered. She was going to be going after her the whole day. That was going to be her target. And now she's gone and someone's framing her. And she said, this is where it gets me. She says she thinks it's Mickey. And I'm like, Koozie.
Yeah.
Mickey
can't do anything. Like,
this is unfortunate. And Gerline even gives her you don't think Mike? Like, Mike's not higher on your list? And she's like, no, Mickey. And I'm like, take it. Gerline's like giving you, like, she's just like dropping crumbs here saying like, what about Mike? It's Mike. I don't know, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
The loyalty.
Loyal.
Koozie's a bit too loyal this moment because come on, girl. You know, like, it's just very disappointing. I also feel like if Mickey, like, that's going to be her scapegoat. Come on.
This is not a good choice.
Go after Donna. Like, I would either go Donna or Trevon if I don't want to go Mike because I'm trying to defend him. Donna had heat once before, and then she became quiet. And Trevon has just been a mess all around. So just come on. Don't go after Mickey who has said nothing all game. So I just wish that Mickey was not the person she chose to try to defend Mike for whatever reason.
Yes. Yeah. Javier, I have to tell you a secret. It's not really a secret, but all my rooting interest is on Trevon now. I'm rooting for Trevon to win. So I know that's a controversial take, but I'm rooting 1,000% for Trevon.
Really?
I am. I went from hating Trevon in the beginning to now I'm all in on Trevon. And Gerline, of course. But
I'll give you Gerline.
I think Trevon's my dark horse winner. Okay. I'm Team Gerline too, but I'm rooting for Trevon. Maybe Trevon and Gerline can split the money.
I will say I am coming around on Trevon this episode. He didn't do anything to make me mad this episode. You know, last episode I forgot what he said. He said things, but yes, Trevon is a bit higher on my rankings this episode.
Yes. Well, he didn't throw any chalk, and he wasn't sobbing at the end of this episode. So I guess
the sobbing was a really
we've moved forward. Yes. I just felt like I had to put that out there now, because I'm going to be standing Trevon probably a little later. So, yeah, this is not looking great. Not looking great for Koozie. Koozie tells us in a confessional that she wants to protect Mike for a little longer. I'm like screaming because we've of course seen the other side and he's just burying her. Leroy does tell Koozie that he doesn't think it's her. He thinks she's being framed. And Leroy's suspicious of Mickey too because he's quiet and he doesn't say much. And it just feels like everybody's really all over the place here. Like everything is all over the place.
Yes.
These people are a mess. They're just a mess. We move on to the mission, and this mission actually gives us a little something. Typically, this one's interesting. In the previous seasons, they've been like on a wheel, and it's been a little bit different. But this one, basically, this is like the circus mission. We've seen variations of this in other versions of the Traitors, but 3 players are randomly picked to be put on a stage, and they have like a trap door underneath them, and they get asked a question on the stage and then they have to reach a consensus essentially with the people in the audience. So if I'm, answering as the audience, you guys want to match me and then we win money. If your name comes up on while you're on the stage, you have like 1 balloon, that's your lifeline. And then if your name comes up a second time, you fall through the floor. So they're pretty shady questions.
Yeah.
Yes. I wrote the questions down because at first I was like, oh, this isn't going to matter. And then I was like, oh no, these questions are actually pretty good. Yeah. And if every mission was like this, they would be watchable because it's fun. But the other ones are like not.
Yeah.
Donna, Mickey, Trevon are first on the stage. And the first question is, who would you not want to be stuck with on a deserted island? And this is just like rude. This is just a rude question.
But I said the same thing as the faithful.
Me too. Me too.
I was like, I don't want to.
I was like, I don't need her and her spirits talking to me while I'm annoyed on an island.
No. And so everybody answers Donna. The crowd or the circus, they're calling them, people on the ground, they all choose Donna. And Donna's literally celebrating. And she's like, yeah, let's go. And I understand they win money, so I get it. But I would not be celebrating if everyone's like, the literal last person I want to be on an island with is you. I wouldn't be jumping up and down being like, yay, me. I knew it.
I think that was a cover for hurt feelings because that's how
you think?
Yes. There's just no way you're celebrating that. I mean, good money, but like nobody wants to be with you. That's the consensus. I'd be like, what did I do? That's how I would be feeling. Yeah, I know.
Poor Donna. I think I would rather be on an island with Donna than Mickey.
I feel like I'd be talking to myself if Mickey was there. At least Donna would be conversation.
Yeah, right? And maybe some spirits will come possess her, and then you get to talk to other people too through her. Like, you never know.
Katie. We
Yeah,
You don't want visitors on the island with you?
No.
Okay, fair. Okay, fair.
I've seen Lost. This is not, I don't need Lost.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. The next question is who's for sure a faithful? Donna and Mickey say Mickey. Trevon says Trevon. And everybody in the circus says Trevon, and they win money. I just don't know why Donna and Mickey said Mickey. Like, Trevon is clearly, I think we've established weeks ago. There's still questions about Mickey this week. It just seems like a weird answer to me that they both answered Mickey, but what are we going to do?
Yeah, I also answered Trevon. I was playing the game with them just because it was
Me
fun.
too. Me too. It was fun. This one was fun. Yes.
Yeah, this is my favorite challenge of the season because it also gave them something to think about and it let them see how other people are feeling about other people. I thought that just gave something for them to go on, because I just hate some of the reasons people go off of for why they're suspicious. It's just so much nonsense to me, but I digress.
Especially in the early game, it's tough. I think as the game progresses, people paint themselves in a corner a little bit and there's a little bit more strategy to be had. But in the beginning, it's literally like, oh, I'm scratching my nose right now and I just took my blindfold off. So I guess you're a traitor because you're scratching your nose. Like, it's like literally nonsense.
It is.
Yeah. But this, I mean, I like this. I feel like, we'll get to some of these questions because I have thoughts. Who has lied the most since the beginning of the game? They all say Trevon, and he chose himself because he lied about his job, obviously. So that was an easy one. But this was the end of Trevon. They both chose. Trevon got chosen twice, so his balloon went bye-bye, and he fell into the stage, which it seemed like, where did they go? Did they just fall in a big pillow or something, like a big airbag?
I think so, because we could still hear them. Yeah. Like Donna was talking when she had fallen, so it wasn't far.
Yes. But it seems like they couldn't hear the questions because they were all debriefing after the challenge. So I don't know. I didn't think that they were all going to be replaced. I thought it would be like a group of 3 and then another group of 3. It's just like they were out of the challenge from there. They didn't even get to go back to the circus and answer the questions, which I thought was interesting. Gerline ends up taking Trevon's spot. She gets her name picked out of the hat or whatever it was. And the question was, who has revealed the least about themselves since the beginning of the game? Everybody says Mickey.
Yeah.
No surprise.
I don't know nothing about Mickey, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't speak.
Does not speak, which I'm fine with. Every time he speaks, I'm like, what?
I do wonder why that, if I'm playing this game, I feel like that should have risen like a little like yellow flag. Like, why does Mickey not talk? Like, why do I know nothing about him? Why has he not shared anything? Is he trustworthy? Do I need him in this game? So, I wish that in that moment, someone would have like had a little bit like, maybe Mickey's not the best person to keep around. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you because, if he's not sharing anything with you or anybody, even if he's not a traitor, is he a good ally? Right. Is he contributing anything? Not really. Like, do you want someone like that to go to the end and win the money when they're just sitting there and not really participating? I agree. Like, I don't know. He doesn't show a lot of value to me either way, to the traitors or the faithfuls. I don't know. Whose hands would you confidently put your life in? Donna says Mickey. This is weird to me. Mickey goes, I went with Donna. And everyone's like, no, you didn't. You said Mickey. And he's like, no, yeah. And I'm like, I can't with this guy. So he said himself, and Gerline says Mickey. Which, like, why isn't Gerline saying her? And everybody else said Mickey. And I'm like, everybody would put their life in your hands. I'm assuming they mean game life, but I don't know. Even still, I would choose Gerline.
Yeah, y'all just say you know nothing about this man and they're going to put your life in. Come on now.
Make it make sense, Javier. Make it make sense. I don't understand. Mickey falls through the floor. Kuzi is up next, and she's panicking. She doesn't like heights. And they give us this perspective of the stage, which I don't feel like we got like the whole time. And it did actually look really high up when she was walking up the stairs. I didn't realize. I guess it has to be pretty high, but it did look really high up. So poor Kuzi, she's scared.
When she was walking up the steps. I was like, maybe I'd probably be a little nervous too. Like, I don't know how far I'm falling,
I know it's like jumping off the wall in Big Brother. I feel like it's a further fall than you really expect it to be. I don't know why I have Big Brother on my brain today. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop bringing it up. But
you missed it already. It hasn't
I
even
guess
been a
I
week.
miss it. I know I miss it. It's, you know,
Missed
I
that
don't know.
nightmare of a show.
I guess I do. I
we
love
all
to
go
torture
back to.
myself. I know. They can't keep me away.
Same.
Big Brother on the mind. So this is where things get really interesting. So who's the least useful in the hunt for the traitors? Donna says Gerline. And Gerline's like, this is weird because I'm making relationships on talking. This is not a good answer from Donna. I feel like Donna is like this is the worst. She's the worst or least useful. Like she's not giving anything. Kuzi says Donna, Gerline says Donna, and everybody on the ground says Donna. So I don't know what Donna was going for here, but it was a little bit like awkward for me.
I guess it'd be weird if you said that you think you're useless. You know, so
I guess that's true. I guess she had to say someone, yeah.
Either, you know? So
yeah,
that's true. That is true.
I would not have said Gerline though. That's just an odd choice.
No,
She's clearly always been contributing, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, why don't throw on Kuzi?
I feel like Kuzi has done more than Gerline. No shade to Gerline because I am rooting for her, but Gerline has been. I feel like Gerline has been more quiet than most of the players. Like she does say more than like a Mickey or like a Leroy, but she's still like middle of the pack in terms of talking, I feel. So compared to Kuzi, I do think that I would also say Gerline because I wouldn't say myself.
I guess that's true.
I feel like that puts a flag on you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This is a tough one. I do feel like Gerline, you're right. Probably, I think she's more active maybe in between the roundtables and talks a lot of game, but at the roundtable, she's pretty quiet. So maybe that's where Donna's coming from. Because I don't think Donna and Gerline are like chatting it up in between the challenges to figure out who the traitor is together. I think she's probably only talking to Gerline at the roundtables. Donna falls. She's like loving it. She's like, I'm a skydiver. I love falling. I'm like, oh my God, Donna, you're really doing too much this week.
So much.
Janelle, I don't know if you heard us a few weeks ago, but I did say that Donna was getting a winner at it, and I completely retract that statement. That was maybe one of my worst. That was maybe one of my worst takes on this podcast. Donna was getting a winner's edit. But there were a few weeks where she was so quiet and just sitting in the background. I'm like, oh, I could see her going to the end. I take it back. She's a mess.
Yes, absolutely. She was this episode.
Yeah. Thank you for.
I don't know, Katie. Don't speak too soon. Donna can still win. Y'all.
That's true. I mean, she could. Anybody could. Anybody could take it. It's true. So she falls. Mike is up on stage next. Leroy's the only one left on the ground in the circus. And the next question is, who's the most two-faced? And I personally think this is the best question so far.
I was like, okay, what are they basing it off of? I'm dying to know that, though.
Right. Well, I think game-wise, this is the most interesting question because Kuzi, at least as far as Kuzi is related, because on the stage, she's next to her traitor ally and her game ally, who's someone she's in an alliance with. And I just feel like this is so interesting because it just forces everybody to show their cards. I just think this is a good question. And Mike says Kuzi. And this is a big uh-oh for me, obviously. Right. Kuzi says Mike, and Gerline says Kuzi. And Gerline saying Kuzi over Mike was the biggest blindside to me so far of this whole episode. I mean, obviously we're blindsided by Mike, but we kind of knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Gerline saying Kuzi was shocking.
Me too, and that should have been a hint to her. Like she should have known something was up. Like, ooh, Mike. Like that should have been a clue into what was coming tonight.
Yes. And this is where I had a lot of thoughts because the next question is also whose behavior has changed the most since they entered the manor. And Mike said Kuzi again. And I'm like, Kuzi, clearly this man is coming for you. Yes. He does not have your back. He's throwing your name out there. Why throughout the rest of the episode are you so hesitant? Like the writing is on the wall now for you. You have a reason. Go with the reason. I don't know if her gut wasn't speaking to her or what was going on, but like should be blatant at this point.
I agree. I was just like, oh my God, Kuzi. Because I thought after that, she'd back off of protecting him and start bringing his name up more at least. But nothing. Not a thing.
I know.
Yeah, I fully agree. I feel like this challenge should have like opened Kuzi's eyes a bit more to the game, like what Mike is doing behind her back. And like Janelle said, she should have taken this opportunity to then speak a bit more to Gerline after the challenge, see where Gerline's head at. I would literally go up to Gerline and be like, girl, we've been in this alliance since episode 1. Why do you think I'm more two-faced than Magic Mike here? Like, the fact that if that conversation did happen and we didn't see it, but I don't think it did. But either way, like that conversation should have happened at least. If you didn't want to go for Mike, at least try to get your numbers there still, because that's how I would look at the game. So yeah, I agree with Janelle. I was disappointed that she didn't take this moment to like, okay, maybe I need to talk more to Gerline and work a little bit harder in that situation.
Yes. Yeah, it just.
I'm hoping that they just didn't show it to us. That's what I'm hoping.
I know. I've had a lot of bones to pick with the episodes. With the editing over the last few episodes, and I'm hoping maybe this is part of the edit that we're missing, but I don't know, because she still is not going for Mike even after the challenge. So I just feel like, I don't know if she's blinded by loyalty or if she's nervous that, you know, if he's leaves and she's the sole traitor, that it'll be easier to figure her out. Like, I don't know, but I just feel like her trust in Mike, especially after the writing is on the wall here, that he's clearly putting your name in these questions that are going to make people think negatively of you. He's not worried about doing that. I just wish she played a little bit more defensively here instead of just being like, okay, we'll go with Mickey, which to me is just not a great choice anyway. Like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like the right choice. Like, no one's going for Mickey. That was a losing battle, I think.
Yeah, you weren't getting any traction, because I wouldn't be suspicious of him. You know what I mean? Like,
no, exactly.
I wonder I'm sorry. I wonder what Kuzi and Mike's plan was supposed to be going into that round table, because I would have just assumed that they would try to be on the same page and push the same person. Did they talk about that? I don't remember that.
Very briefly.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
They did. They had an interesting conversation after the challenge where Mike was like, what do you want me to do? And she was like, Mickey. We'll get there. But they did talk about it a little bit. I don't know if they had a plan coming out of their deliberation of like who to push next, but it did seem like they had a quick chat at least about going for Mickey, which just didn't seem like people were going to buy in. I don't know. There was no suspicion on Mickey. It just didn't seem like a good move to me.
Right.
They ended up making $9,000 total added to the pot. Great job, guys. After the challenge, the group is sitting inside the manor. We don't get the cars this episode, Javier, which I noticed. We didn't really get much commuting to, or maybe it was just outside and they didn't go anywhere. I don't know.
Right.
That could be.
I thought it was at the like court area somewhere around the house.
Yeah, I do like the car conversation though. Like, I want to know, you know, I feel like that's good, like one-on-one time.
Yeah, we get a chance to see what they're thinking. I like the car conversation because you get to see what people are pushing. So yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah. But instead we get the group just kind of debriefing at the bar, and we see the people who fell in the disappearing door, I think they were calling it, or disappearing floor. I don't know, something like that. They were asking questions on like, what were the other questions? Who did you guys say? So it seemed like they got put in a room somewhere, didn't get to see the rest of the challenge, which is a little weird. And they debrief on all the questions that were answered Kuzi. And it just like, I don't know. It just, Kuzi, even here, I didn't feel like she was like, yeah, me and whatever. Mike seemed like a little bit frustrated by, Kuzi and Gerline saying his name. It just seemed like a weird vibe in that debrief room, which again, like, Kuzi, get that sixth sense going. Like, this is not a good vibe here.
Not at all.
Yeah. We see a chat between Mike and Gerline, and he's like, I feel more confident about Kuzi than I feel about Mel B. I'd be willing to get banished just to get this one right. And he is going all in on this, which is wild to me. I mean, this was like a flip of a coin, and then just like, or a flip of a switch rather, where it's just like, he was fine, and then all of a sudden he was just like, no, I'm out on Kuzi. She's got to go. Yeah. Which maybe you need that ruthless instinct. I don't know.
I hated it. I just was mad the whole time watching it because I just sensed that it was coming. Even from last week, just some things he was saying and doing, I was like, oh, he's trying to get her. He just went full force this episode. I mean, he played it well. I don't like saying that. Like, he did a good job. Like, he was convincing. He just built upon everything that was against her. The Melissa argument I thought was really, really good. You know, like
I have thoughts about this actually, but Javier, I want to get your thoughts before I go in.
Yeah, I guess the only thing for me, like I said again, unfortunately, I do think Mike is outplaying Kuzi. Sadly, hard. It's like Janelle said, I don't like saying it. I don't want to admit it. I'm hoping it's the edit. I'm hoping I can blame it on the edit, but I don't think I can. Unfortunately, I do think Mike is going a little harder than Kuzi. So that is very sad to see. But the other thing is when they become a traitor, isn't one of the vows like you can't say the other person's a traitor? Or is that just like a joke? They just say that like as like a little like rhyming scheme when you become a traitor. I thought you couldn't like necessarily go that.
I think it's that you can't admit like I'm a traitor and this other person is a traitor with me. Like I think it's just like you can't say, like you have to pretend like you're not. So but you can definitely throw suspicion on other people. But this was like, I mean, he was really going in here.
Like we didn't see that in the US when they went. I know they got Cody out, but it wasn't like I didn't feel like it was this. Like Mike is basically saying Kuzi is a traitor. That's literally what he's saying. That's why it was like a little. Yeah. It was a lot for me. I was like, whoa.
We saw something interesting. I know neither one of you watched the UK, but in the UK, they did end up having to, I don't remember if it was a recruit or if they had to like blackmail some. I think it was a blackmail where it was either you can become, which it sounds like Mike is going to have to do next week, is bring someone on. And then if they don't join, then they end up getting murdered, I believe. It's been a while since I watched the UK, but the guy, and then the person who was the traitor brought the other person on as a traitor. He accepted because he didn't want to get murdered. And then he got the traitor who blackmailed him, went for him at the banishment the next, I don't know if it was the next day necessarily or like 2 later, but the guy who got voted out, the new traitor, said something along the lines of like, he put suspicion on the one traitor and was like a parting gift. And everyone was like, what did he mean by that? What did he mean by a parting gift? And it set like everybody on fire. So it seems like you could definitely throw some tidbits in there without like officially saying, but I mean, in the UK, we pretty much saw like people were very angry about this, by the way, on Twitter and stuff. Like the Traitors community at the time were like, he ruined the game, but I thought it was great TV. So I don't know officially the rules, but
they were saying he ruined it because he said that line.
Yeah, because he basically exposed.
Because I was curious when you said blackmail, because this is my first time getting this far into the season. What blackmail with what? I'm like, duh, Janelle, killing him. But who do you guys think is best for Mike to recruit?
I was gonna ask you guys the same question. I don't really know at this. Gurleen probably. I think Gurleen would be the best suited to be a traitor.
I don't think a lot of people are looking that hard at Gurleen, but it's hilarious to me that you just said that in the UK he recruited a traitor and then got that person out. I feel like I would recruit somebody that I felt like already had a lot of heat.
Yeah. I think so too. And we've talked a little bit about this season of just like, I think they should have recruited someone much earlier who already had suspicion so they could just like throw some bait out to everybody and be like, here you go, you got another traitor, and let everybody chill. Because you can't go so long without getting a traitor out and not damaging your game. Like I think Cirie did a really good job of kind of like cutting her ties in the US with Cody and Christian and getting those people out at the right time. So it's like, then it's like, okay, you can hold people over for a couple of weeks or, a couple of episodes. I don't know often how, I think it's once a day or like every other day or something. It holds people over for a little bit. But if you go weeks without catching a traitor, I mean, the only one they caught was Mel B in the second episode. Like they're chomping at the bit to catch a traitor. Now I think Mike, I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but Mike is in a great spot because they just got one. So now they're like, okay, my appetite is sustained. Like I got a bite. I feel good. I can sit back. I can relax. My stomach's not growling anymore to get this traitor out. Like I'm good. I have sustenance in me and I'm okay. This was a good move by Mike, unfortunately. But I just think, if they recruited a little earlier and just like threw someone to the wolves, then everybody just chills out a little bit because they got one. Oh, we got one. We're good. I completely
agree with you because they could have teamed up, got that. Whom I thought they should have recruited. May. I'm sorry. I thought they should have recruited her weeks ago because I don't know. I would like to see how she would handle being a traitor. I feel like it might frazzle her, honestly, and I was hoping that she would look a little bit more suspicious. But that, I think that week that they intended on recruiting, they got that twist.
Yeah.
They couldn't, they had to do that hit list or whatever that was.
It seemed like Mike was anti-recruiting anyway for some reason. I don't know. It was very strange.
Probably because he could do this.
Right, I know.
I don't want to give him that credit either. I hope not.
Go ahead, Javier.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I think that recruiting now, I don't think there's anyone good left to recruit. I think it's gonna be a very uphill battle for Mike to get anyone with this whole like blackmailing thing. But I do, if I had to pick, I would agree with Katie. And I think Gerline seems like the biggest like gamer left from all of them who wouldn't mind potentially being a traitor. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a very hard battle to try to recruit anyone.
I want him to recruit Gerline and then Gerline to slit his throat and win the game.
Me
like
too.
that's what I want to happen. That's what I really want to happen.
I would love it.
Yes, that would like make it okay.
That's what I'm rooting for. Yeah. My gut tells me Mike is not winning this game personally. I just don't see I don't see a way that he could at this point. But we'll see. I know we're kind of jumping all over, but I know Mike does say to Kuzi back after the challenge as he's continuously just throwing dirt on her coffin. I feel like Kuzi's been taking you guys for a ride just to get further. If she's not banished tonight, one of you will be next. And he's really just piling on. He also goes to Trevon. Mike says he has things, suspicions that he brought up. Like he brings up Mel A and what happened. Kuzi's also a 911 operator. She's good with words. He did call her aggressive and defensive, which I did not love, like gross. And Trevon then tells us in a confessional that Kuzi's number one on his list, which I know I said I kind of love Trevon, but I didn't love this from him. But here's my thing. If I'm thinking and I'm in this game, I would say, then why didn't you vote for Kuzi last night at the round table? If you felt this strongly, because you defended her in the last episode and you're like, I don't think Kuzi's a traitor. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And you voted Mel B and now you're Mel A, sorry. And you're going all over the place saying like Mel A was a real one. We had a real relationship. I trusted her. She said Kuzi brought up my name. Bro, you could have voted her out in the last roundtable, but you didn't. You voted Mel A. So why is no one asking this question of like, where did this flip come from? Because you had a chance to vote her out when May was still here and Mel A was still here, and you defended Kuzi. And so what's going on?
The one that called Kuzi out on the same thing? Who called Kuzi out? See
tonight in this week's episode.
Roundtable, yes, because he was like, Kuzi, last week you were defending Mike, and you're doing the same thing, Trevon, and nobody's picked up on that whatsoever.
Yeah. I just want people to be asking these questions because immediately I'm like, this is a terrible defense.
Because you did it too. Yeah.
A mess. Trevon does talk to Kuzi. Mike is kind of like lurking in the background. And Kuzi, unfortunately, is putting Mickey out instead of Mike. Mickey gives nothing. He barely says anything. Doesn't give anything to go off of. Kuzi's targeting Mickey. Trevon says, what about Mike? Trevon, push it. And Kuzi says, he did get upset about the sound of his name and his panic was unusual. Like, you should expect to hear your name in this game, which like, great, go on that. I was like, okay, here we go. She's picking up on it. But then like, it didn't really go anywhere from her. Oh, Janelle, you're on mute. You're
she's
good.
Just, like, softballing it everywhere she goes, and she thinks she's like, I have to say Mike's name, but I just have to do it in a delicate way. And she just continued with that the whole time. She was obviously riding with him.
Yep.
He just wasn't riding with her.
Yeah.
This was like I think this is the second time this episode someone tells Kuzi, but what about Mike?
Mm-hmm.
And then Kuzi's like, but let's talk about Mickey. I'm like, let's not talk about Mickey. He doesn't talk.
No one's talking about Mickey but you.
No one needs to talk about Mickey, Kuzi, please. It was just, again, I was very sad. Very disappointed.
Yeah, I think Mike, this protecting Mike is, in Kuzi's mind, some self-preservation. That's what I think. It's self-preservation. She just thinks for whatever reason that she cannot be the only one left. But like you said earlier, Katie, I'm of the mind, had they gotten Mike, I think she would have been okay for a little bit if she could have diverted the attention to somebody else. Like I think Mike is going to be, but I hope not.
I also think if Kuzi was successful and got rid of Mike here, or worked a little harder to get rid of Mike, and she had to blackmail someone and bring someone on, she could have brought in a Gurleen and they could have ran circles around everybody else. But Gurleen and Mike, I don't know, because they've been working together the whole game. I don't know that Mike and Gurleen, if he does move forward, I have no idea. But that's the only reasonable option to select as a traitor at this point, unless maybe you want to choose Leroy, so you know he's not going to go behind your back. But I don't know. I can't imagine anybody else but Gurleen getting blackmailed here. But it just feels like that would have been a better pairing. I don't know. Leroy, we see him talking to Trevon, and he says, "What are your thoughts on Mike?" Trevon says he's coasting, and Leroy wakes up again from his slumber and says, "Anytime I've ever said anything to Mike, he takes that information and brings it to the round table. Are you just taking my information and reiterating it? Does that make you a suspect?" And I'm like, yes, go with this. Go with this.
Yes, I'm very glad, because I wrote that down in my notes too. I was like, yes, Leroy, this is how you play this game. This is a very good read. This is how you should be approaching the game. So yeah, I thought that was a great read from Leroy. I was like, okay, he has 2 brain cells. Let's go, Leroy. The other one's working. So I love that little conversation.
He's another one from another show, right? Is Leroy from the show?
He might be. I know he was in the CFL, like the Canadian Football League. I don't know if he was on a show. If he was, it's not a show I'm familiar with. But I know there are a few of them. Like Gurleen was in like some farming show, and Trevon was in some show. Very possible that Leroy could. It just says like on her
farming,
like Chiron. What is it? Farming for Love? Yeah, like what is that?
I don't know. I've never heard of this. It must be a Canadian reality dating show.
It must be.
There was a US show with something with farmers that came on Fox.
Farmer. It was recent. Farmer wants a wife or needs a wife or something like that. Farmer gets something like that. Yes, that's right. I wonder if it's the same like type of show and we just took it from Canada. I'll have to look that up. Trevon brought up Mike's name yesterday. Mostly he said because he didn't want Mel A to get all the heat. But Mike was also doing a lot, pushing the red team. And I'm like, yes, let's talk more about the red team. Because like, I can't believe that this was like all Mike just throwing this out. Then he backpedaled a little bit. Then he's pushing. And now Kuzi's, whatever. But Kuzi's his number 1 still. Mike's his number 2. So, I mean, there's not even a mountain of evidence against Kuzi. But I think Mike set her up really well to take the fall here, even though Mike has done much more egregious things than Kuzi has done throughout the game. I just think her conversation with May was more confrontational than any conversations that Mike has had, so it's easier to put the spotlight on, mostly because I find May to be more emotional. I do feel like Kuzi was defending herself in that conversation, and she's hilarious. May was the one that I feel like escalated the discussion.
Yes, completely
not
agree.
Kuzi.
It never would have gotten to that level if May wasn't hyped. Kuzi remains like this unless you come at her heightened and she feels attacked. So May was definitely the aggressor in that conversation. And unfortunately, Kuzi comes out with the bumps and bruises from it,
I know.
Yeah.
I know. May is the gift that keeps on giving. Javier's fave.
Shout out to May.
I'm interested to see like what she was like in her show. I think it was a cooking show. They said like she's a chef.
Master Chef Canada, I think.
Yeah.
Then we get a conversation between Kuzi and Mike. Mike wants to talk. He tells us, "I'm gonna go talk to Kuzi just to get some more gossip on her." And I'm like, this fucker. She brings up Mickey. He doesn't talk. He just says like, "What are you doing? I'm gonna follow your lead." Yesterday, she says yesterday Mickey was planning on voting for Kuzi because May got a group together, but he ended up changing his vote. And Mike was like, "How do you know that?" And she's like, "Oh, well, Gurleen told me." And I'm like, Stop talking to this man. He does not have your best interest at heart. Stop talking. And he was like, "Well, what do you want me to do with the round table? Do you want me to ask you questions and like, put it out there?" And she's like, "No, I don't want you to ask me any questions because I'm defensive and that'll force me to have to throw the questions back at you. And I don't want to put any more suspicion on your name." And here's where I'm like, Mike, Do you not realize this woman has your fucking back here?
Right.
Like, she doesn't even want to put suspicion on you. Why are you going so hard to get rid of her? Why?
I thought the same thing. I was like, she has shown, at least from our or my vantage point, over and over loyalty to him.
Yes.
Over and
1,000%.
over and over. So I was so perplexed. Like, why are you so ready to get her out right now? I don't know. I hated it so much.
And it's not like, and we've seen in other seasons, like in the US, it felt like Christian was a liability. So it made sense for Suri to get rid of him.
Right.
Cody, same thing. He said something stupid. I don't remember who, to Kyle or something like that. And then Kyle was like, oh, Cody's a traitor. So it made sense for them to get rid of these people. But Kuzi hasn't done enough, in my opinion, for Mike to turn on her, especially because he's the only traitor left. Like, they've worked together pretty well as a partnership so far. So just don't really understand, like, why he decided to go so hard here. But I don't know. It's upsetting. It's upsetting.
I'm thinking it really must be that Mike. I feel like we haven't gotten this as much in the DRs for Mike, but I do think Mike is, this whole self-preservation of it. I feel like there has been heat on Mike for weeks, and I think that he believes that if he flips on Kuzi first, that he will be in a better position in the game. So I don't think it's anything necessarily that Kuzi has done. I think it's more so Mike is saying, I need to protect myself, so I think I need to put the target on you. And it is unfortunate because I don't think we've gotten enough of those conversations from Mike to us, the audience, but I think that is likely why he's playing that. So I think Mike is another player who I want to see, like, not a deep dive as we do the big brothers of the world, but like a conversation. I want to see Mike's exit interview too, to see why he was going so gung-ho for Kuzi, if that was the reason.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he's even intimidated a little bit because it's obvious, like, still when she came into the breakfast table, people were happy to see her. I think that like I said earlier, had she had a little bit of a leg up on this and knowing what he was doing, she could have outplayed him. She just was in the dark about the plan. She didn't know what he was doing. So I agree with you, Javier, that this is probably some self-preservation and thinking that Kuzi can out-argue him, moving forward if she has the right ammunition. So,
yeah, I agree. I also think, Javier, I think you bring up a really good point too about the self-preservation and maybe it not being anything necessarily against Kuzi, but like we were saying earlier, like the fact that they have not gotten a traitor in so long and there's heat on him, like maybe it is the time to just throw it out there. I think it's harder when there's only two of them to, for us, especially as viewers, to really justify the decision. I get where he's coming from. I just feel like it's so risky because you don't really know necessarily what the next step is going to be. You don't know if you're going to be able to get someone who's good at the game or someone who's just going to throw you under the bus. Like, there was trust there with Kuzi, obviously. Yeah. So it just felt like maybe this was a little too early. But if he goes hard pushing someone else and she goes hard pushing someone else, and obviously it's going to be faithful again, it's just that there's already suspicion on both of them. I kind of understand where he's coming from, but I don't know. It just didn't feel like the right time yet for me.
Same. And I have a question, Katie, since you've watched so many versions, where they had the dinner and then the host brought up the fact that they could choose to banish or murder. Like they said, why would anybody ever say murder in that situation? Like, what would be, has this ever happened, I guess is my question.
I actually haven't seen this happen before. So this is a perfect segue because this is what happens next. So Karine shows up and everyone's like, uh-oh, here's a twist. Not to say that this hasn't happened. I haven't seen the second season of Australia and the first season of New Zealand. So maybe this happened there, but this didn't happen in the US or the UK. I don't think it happened in season 1 of AU either. I don't really remember. But she says she's feeling magnanimous. She wants to treat them for a feast on her terrace in her French accent. And it's not black tie, but they need to dress nicely. So everybody's like, what the hell is going on? I personally am like, what the hell's going on? What's happening? What is this twist? And then I'm like, maybe Kuzi's going to be safe. Maybe she's going to be safe. Maybe this is saving grace for Kuzi. So they go to this feast. Everybody's dressed up. I have 2 points I want to say about how everyone is dressed. Trevon is literally wearing the same outfit that I feel like he wears to every round table. So I'm like, did you bring one outfit with one hat? I don't really know what's happening here. And Mickey's version of dressing up is a low bun instead of a high messy bun. So I'm like, okay, we are using the terms dress up and look nice very loosely here. Guys, Trevon looked great, but he wears the same outfit almost every episode. So I'm just okay. Okay, what are we doing?
I will say two things. First of all, Kuzi looked amazing. I loved
She
whatever.
did.
I don't know if it was a dress or a jumpsuit or what that white
Yeah,
garment she was wearing,
loved
but
it.
it was eating down in that look. A good look to go
Yes.
out on. And Corinne, y'all,
Ooh.
we talk about Corinne every week.
Beautiful.
Corinne ate with that bow tie dress and the
Yes.
sleek back ponytail. Corinne,
I
you
know.
mothered for me. I love, and her other look was good this episode too. The whole
Yes, it
plaid,
was.
brown. So Corinne,
See,
shout out to you again.
Yeah, she looked great.
I
She
did not pay attention to anybody's clothes on here.
oh, Janelle, you
What?
have to look at Corinne. She
You
looks
have
incredible
to.
every episode. Every episode she outdoes herself, I feel like. And this was no exception. And she came later to sit down and explain what was going on. And she was like, "Don't worry, I'm not eating." And I was like, "Yes, you are, Queen. Just maybe not in the way that you think, but you're eating right now, I
Oh,
have
wait,
to
hold
say."
on, Katie. You ate that one, actually.
I was like, "You are eating. You're eating." Thank you. So everybody's eating. Kuzi's like, "I'm not eating a word until we hear what's going on. I'm too suspicious. What if, it's like everybody that eats is in trouble or whatever." And you could just tell Kuzi comes from like a show that has twists because she is just
Right.
suspicious. Everybody else is like shoveling food and she's like, no. I'm waiting until I hear what's going on. I'm not playing this game. So Corinne comes, says she's not eating. I beg to differ. She has another surprise. So tonight there will either be a banishment or a murder, but not both. And the choice is up to all the players. What they have to do is all come to an agreement unanimously on whether or not they want to have a roundtable and try and go for a traitor. If not, if only one person defers or says that they don't want to do this, then there will be a murder and there'll be no roundtable. And they have to do this like openly at the table. It's not like a vote on a piece of paper. So the faithfuls can prevent the murder. If one player votes to have a murder, there'll be no roundtable. Someone will get murdered. And if they successfully go to the roundtable and get out a traitor, they will add an additional $10,000 to the pot. But if they banish a faithful instead, they will lose $10,000 from the pot. If they go to a murder, the money stays the same. So that's kind of, that's the rules. I want to know, before we get into the specifics here, how would you guys play this? What would your decision be?
Well, I was sitting there trying to figure out how the heck can I, if I were a traitor, how the heck can I say murder so y'all don't get me? Like, but they can't without being suspicious. So I don't know how that option would happen. Clearly, none of the people that are faithfuls are going to say that because they don't want to get murdered. So
Right.
that's what I was thinking this whole time. I feel like if I were a traitor, I would have to say banish because otherwise I'm a traitor. I don't know. It was a weird. I wish it was a secret vote. That would have been amazing.
Me too.
Like if they could have went in and voted and then got away with it, I would have loved that because Kuzi could have done that and just killed somebody. Oh, I was like, please. That's what I was hoping the direction would have
Me
been.
too.
But I don't know what I would have done because I feel like you have to say banish.
What about you, Javier?
Yeah.
What would you have done here?
I feel, pretty much Janelle. I agree with everything Janelle said. I feel like the fact that it has to be a public vote kind of just makes this twist not a good twist because there's no way you can convince people to want to murder. Like the traitors are the minority in the group. Now, if the traitors were the majority in the group, that would be the only way that I can see them potentially somehow convincing the faithfuls. But yeah, I feel like the twist unfortunately flopped. Unless, like Janelle said, if there would have been a private vote, that would have made the twist work out. But yeah, I guess I would have voted also to banish just because you can't say murder and not get any suspicion on you. So what about you?
Yeah.
Katie? What do you think?
It's difficult. If I'm there and I know my name is out there and I'm likely to get voted out and it's just been like a public conversation, maybe if I'm like Rick, right? Like if I'm arguing with May all day and I think May is coming for me, maybe I'm going to say like, actually, I don't want to go to a round table because I don't know where you guys are voting. May's been coming for me all day. Like I feel more safe with the traitors. I think the traitors are going to keep me. If I'm Kuzi, clearly Kuzi doesn't realize... Clearly, Kuzi doesn't realize that her name is being spread as much as it is by Mike specifically. But if she does, that I would have liked to hear her say, actually, I feel more safe with the traitors because why would they murder me? I'm out in front. I'm the next target at the next round table. I just want to extend another day. I don't think I'm going to get murdered. That gets me one day further. Hopefully someone else will expose themselves, but I really don't want to go to a round table. I don't feel safe. maybe you could do that.
Oh, that's an excellent
But
idea, Katie.
I just don't feel like anybody in this house at this point was in a position where they could have said, like, I need to play defense for myself and just preserve myself and keep myself here for another week. Hopefully, I trust myself more with the traitors than the faithfuls who are going to vote me out. I just don't think Kuzi realized her name was out at this point. And same with Mike. I mean, like, Mike, same thing. I feel like Mike's name has been out for weeks for us, but days for them. Mm-hmm. He could have said the same thing. Like, actually, my name has been getting some heat and I don't feel comfortable. Like, I would rather go to a murder. I don't think the traitors are going to murder me. It would be stupid if they did.
Yeah.
It's risky.
It is. But if you're worried that you're going to get put up anyway, that's an excellent point. Because I was trying to think, like, why would anybody say that? And that is the perfect way to say it. And I feel like potentially get away with it if you're good enough at it, which I feel like Kuzi could be.
I think Kuzi could have been, yeah. Like, Adana, I don't think could sell it. A Kuzi, even a Mike, I think could probably sell it maybe. But man, I just don't think she had the foresight to realize that that Mike was stabbing her in the back.
That would have been so epic, Katie.
I wish.
Yeah, I will say, I do think that's a great idea, Katie, and I feel like that is one way to go about it. But I just don't see how, like, I still don't see how that could work. Like, if I'm a faithful, there is no way on earth I'm ever gonna vote for murder. So I think that would work again if the traitors were the majority. I just feel like in a realm where the traitors are not the majority, that's not going to work. But man, like Janelle said, that would have been great TV. And then I would have been like, oh, Kuzi 10s, 20s, like that would have been amazing gameplay. Someone can actually eventually get away with that type of play. I think that would be amazing to watch, though.
I would love to see it. Or if someone has a shield, which wasn't in play this week, but if there's a shield and I'm a faithful and I have the shield, I don't want to go to banishment because that means I could get voted out. I know I'm not going to get murdered. So that could be. And then there's the money thing. It's like, I don't want to risk losing 10K, but like, who cares?
They're gonna be able to make it up at the end.
I know they're gonna make it up at the end.
Oh yeah, Janelle, you didn't see the past, but like in the US, they were able to make back all the money they lost.
The last challenge was for all of the rest of the money that they didn't make the whole time. And of course, and it was like a challenge that they basically couldn't have failed. So
anyone could do it.
Yeah. So I'm waiting. I'm assuming that's what we're gonna see here anyway. So I'm not even paying attention to the money, but everybody votes for banishment, unfortunately. Which, I mean, it's the natural way to go. What can you do? Even Gerline says, like, what would the pro be to go to murder? And Kuzi, I think Kuzi is the one that was like, well, the pot, like, if you don't want to, risk the pot. And everyone's like, okay, whatever. And Gerline just says, like, well, should we put all of our cards out on the table? And I'm like, okay. I'm loving Gerline this episode.
Yeah. And I didn't know, I thought she meant, like, she wanted to discuss who she thought was a traitor, but that was
I thought so too.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, should we just vote, like, talk it out? And I was like, no, let's go deeper, have a little drama, instead of just saying, like, I think we need to vote to go to the round table. And everyone's like, okay, me too. I wanted, like, them to hash it out a little bit more.
Yeah, it was very kumbaya.
It was very kumbaya. Very kumbaya. We do get another intelligent statement from Mickey saying if we do go murder, it just makes things easier for the traitors. And I'm like, well, okay, Mickey, good for you. Good for you. We go to the round table. Mike is excited. He's like, tonight I'm actually excited. I'm going to find a traitor. And I'm like, I wanted there to be a way for her to get out of it. I was just like, there's no way it's going to be this obvious the whole episode. She's going to flip it. Spoiler alert, she didn't flip it. She came close, though. I do think she came close. I do.
It was one vote, right? Gerline's last vote. That's why I wish she should have talked to her.
I think she needed 2 more votes.
Oh, she needed 2. I'm sorry. Jeez.
Yeah, she needed 2 more votes, unfortunately. But Mike kicks it off, goes in. I can go around the table, say things about each one of you that are suspicious, but I'm going to start with you, Kuzi. And then he's like, May said you said my name. Why would she lie? Which, again, to me, I like wrote a note in my notes and said, if I'm at this round table, this would immediately put more suspicion on Mike to me than Kuzi, because we hashed this out yesterday. Where were you yesterday? Why didn't you say this yesterday? Why are you saying this now? Why are you going so hard on Kuzi now when you had nothing to say yesterday? It just doesn't make sense. You didn't think she was a traitor. You didn't vote for her when other people were trying to get votes. You're saying that Mel A, I think he says here, is that Mel A is a real person in this game, and I had a personal relationship with her, and I trusted her. And it's just like, okay, but like you voted her out, so that should be more suspicious on you. I don't know. No one was asking the questions I wanted them to ask.
You think of good questions, Katie. I was like, oh, I didn't think of that.
It's easy as a viewer, but if I'm in the house, I'm gonna be like, duh. I'm gonna be like Quentin. I'm gonna be like, I don't know. I'd be snowed by Suri just like everybody else.
Listen, I'll be like, keep me serene. You can murder me at the end. It's fine.
Yeah, just take me out at the end. It's fine. It's fine. Yes. So he goes, who are your friends in the game? And he talks about keeping her friends close and they'll trust her to take to the end. He's like really going harder than he's gone on anyone else, which I also think is suspicious. Like, you've never played like this before, but you're going hard. You must know, and you must have made a decision because you're traitors together. You must have made a decision to just turn on her. It just seems very out of character for Mike, the way that he's playing.
Yes. He just was like, went from always being at an even kill level 4, even when people are coming for him with valid arguments. He's always pretty like this. Tonight he was up here, hard he really was. At her. Yes, very, very hard. Harder than, like you said, anybody the entire season, and harder than he even defended himself to other people. So he went super hard on her.
Which I think is also going to come back to bite Mike, how aggressive he was for Kuzi this episode. I foresee this being an issue for him moving forward also.
I hope it is, because I just, not only because I'm anti-Mike, because I am, but I do also just feel like this is just so obvious that it's just a change in the way that he's presenting himself, that I just can't imagine that every single person at this table is just going to let it slide. Like, it just wouldn't make sense to me.
But she basically... Our only hope for me is for it not sliding is Gerline.
Yeah,
but I'm afraid,
I think so too.
I'm worried that getting this traitor is going to give her trust in him as opposed to the other way around. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I'm hoping that she looks even harder at him but most of these people don't have 2 brain cells, it feels like, to rub together. So my only hope is really, really in her.
My hope, I have to say,
it's Trevon. Just say it, Katie.
It's Trevon. It's Trevon.
Right.
I'll get to Trevon and why I think so, but I liked what I saw in the preview from Trevon. I'll just say that much. But Kuzi holds her own here. I feel like the back and forth between Kuzi and Mike actually makes Mike look worse than it makes Kuzi look. He says like, oh, you're bringing your friends to the end and then you're going to cut them. And she's like, well, where are your personal relationships? And he's like, well, I don't have any. I'm a neutral player. And she just said like, oh, that's convenient for you to say because you're near the end. And like, to be fair, all of Mike's personal relationships are gone. Like, everybody that he worked with, he voted them out just the same way Kuzi voted her allies out. So I don't know why she gets more heat than Mike does. But then Donna again stands up for Mike and she's like, no, he has relationships. He has connections. And I'm like, shut up, Donna. Shut up. Shut up. You've been doing too much for me here. Shut up. Stop talking. You don't make any sense. Damn it. Shut up.
I wanted somebody to say, what is a neutral player? What does that look like exactly?
Yeah, and how are you a neutral player when there's 7 people left? And there's 2 traitors. Like, how are you neutral here?
Trust the neutral player. I don't trust the neutral player. You're neutral because you don't want to get caught. That's why you're neutral. So
because you're a traitor and you don't want to be suspicious. And you don't sound neutral now. Nothing you're saying sounds neutral now. So I don't know what you're talking about. I just can't. I can't. Trevon does speak up about May. And he's like, Kuzi, what are your theories? Because it is suspicious that you guys had it out at the last round table and now she's murdered. It could be that you were framed, but like, what's your theory? And she's like, truly, I don't have one. Like, I really don't know. I don't know why someone would do that. Like, I didn't want her to get murdered. Like, I wouldn't have murdered her, whatever. Mickey says the same thing, that's the only thing he has to go on with Kuzi is that May is murdered. And I just like, I hate this. I hate that they went with May. I hate it. Kuzi brings up Gerpier again, finally. Gerpier, put your name out. He's gone. Mary, put your name out. She's gone. Kevin, put your name out. He's gone. Never once did you bring up anything about me, but now you are because you want to hide yourself. And I'm like, yes, Yes, say more. There's so many things that you know that he did that you can put suspicion on because he was messy at the beginning of the game. And same thing. She says, yesterday you had nothing bad to say about me, and now you say my name, and I need to return it to you. So like, I just, I don't know. I thought this would have worked.
Me too. And I felt like the difference here, because I feel like she really stood up to him and combated every point really, really well. But the difference is all that legwork he had before, that they
Yeah.
came in looking at her,
Yep.
unfortunately. If she would have had that an opportunity to combat it sooner, I feel like she could have been successful here.
Yes, I agree. And I think if Gurleen, because we get a confessional here of Gurleen saying, I want to vote, I want to ride with Kuzi, and I want to take her out at the end, which is the right move. She's convinced Kuzi a traitor. This is a game-winning move for you. Get rid of Mike, help her get rid of Mike, take her to the end, and then you cut her. Yeah, maybe she'll realize, and there's a potential that she'll murder you, but like, just don't let her know you're onto her and act like you're her bestie, and then you can win at the end.
Yeah, because well, Gurleen doesn't really know this, but she's obviously loyal to Mike. Like, she wouldn't even let anybody say anything about him.
Right.
She would have rode with her too. They would have been such a force.
Yeah. I think Janelle made a great point in that. Unfortunately, while I agree, I even wrote that in my notes, Kuzi made so many great points, really good points that would have hit harder if Mike hadn't had done all the legwork that he had done prior to the round table. And again, I think this was a moment for me where if Kuzi would have gotten Leroy and Gurleen earlier and like talked to them, because this was their alliance. Multiple times in the past few episodes, we've heard Gurleen, Kuzi, and Leroy were in an alliance, and I just feel like we never saw Kuzi really try to strengthen those allies during this episode. And I think if she would have done that, she could have, again, like Janelle said, survived this roundtable because she did make a lot of great points. So it's unfortunate to see that she didn't do that.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we were saying last week too, Javier, of just like the information that Kuzi's sharing. I just feel like she could have been much more open with her allies, or, I think she just had to be more open-minded, or figured out how to like drop some breadcrumbs here and there about Mike, just in case. Like, just give yourself a foundation, make a safety net just in case he comes for you. It's happened in every Traitors series, at least that I've seen, and I can't imagine that it didn't happen in the two that I didn't see, where eventually the traitors are going to turn on each other. That's it. It happens every time. You have to be able to set yourself up in a place where if Mike decides to turn on you, you have enough ammo that where you can just lay the groundwork early and throughout, and just be like, I don't know, Mike's a little weird, but I don't think, like, maybe not, I don't know. And then you can be like, well, we did talk about this 2 weeks ago or 3 days ago, whatever it is in real time.
Yeah.
But she just didn't do that. She was a little too loyal. Gurleen does bring up Kuzi's inconsistent votes, and just says, like, you didn't believe any of these people were traitors, and then you voted them out. Kevin, Fierce, Mel, all these people. And Kuzi says, like, how many people have come to the table and not convinced of their votes already, and then been convinced at the table? Like, people change their minds all the time at the round table. People came in convinced about Trevon, and then he changed their minds. Like, that happens, which I thought was a good it was a good rebuttal, but unfortunately not enough. Karine comes in, we get our votes. Everybody votes for Kuzi except for Kuzi obviously votes Mike with 3 exclamation points, and Trevon votes for Mike, which, my guy, Trevon, I'm sorry, he knows, he's been in on Mike for weeks, he knows. Everybody else votes Kuzi. I do think there was a realistic scenario where she could have gotten Leroy and she could have gotten Gurleen here to vote out Mike. I don't think she put in the work during the day. I think she was just loyal to a fault to Mike, but I do think it was there. Gurleen gave her you don't think Mike is above your list, above Mickey? And she's like, no, Mickey's at the top of my list. And Leroy has been a little bit suspicious of Mike over the last few episodes we've seen. So if Kuzi, like, we were just saying, and like you brought up, Javier, like, if she had those conversations with her allies, she could have had them. I just think it was just, at least we didn't see it. So to our eyes, it just looked like maybe that was a little bit of a miss. She gets up there. She's voted out. She gets up there. She says, thank God I got snatched tonight, which she did. She looked great. And I love this. She said, I think I've been killing it in this game. Literally, I've been killing it in this game. And I was just like, this was a great way to go out. Everybody's jumping up and down. She is such good TV. She really is. She really is. Up until the last minute, she's giving it to us. I loved it.
Yeah. I got spoiled, unfortunately. I clicked on that stupid Bird app or the X app or whatever the hell you want to call it. And I saw, so all episode, I was just watching it unfold with dread. I was like, if I didn't have the podcast about this, I would not watch this episode. Like I had zero like intentions of watching it. I absolutely love Kuzi. Love everything about her. I love how she plays. I love just the energy she always gives. It's always entertaining. I think she still has an amazing social game. People were just drawn to her. She has one of those personalities. So I really wanted to see her take this home, considering how hyped she was. And then I was like, she can't be that hype and be the winner. Like, you know what I mean?
Know.
It's terrible.
I know. I'm sad. I hope we see Kuzi on TV again soon in some way or another, because she really is she's just great casting. She's great on television. She always gives us great one-liners, just great DRs, great confessionals. She's great at playing these games. I hope maybe she'll come back on a Big Brother All-Stars, or maybe BB Can versus BBUS. Still would love to see that if we can ever get that happening. She'd be great on it. But shout out to Kuzi. We love her over here on Silent Podcasts. We're big fans.
I inboxed her. I'm like, I'm about to verbally assault Mike on these podcasts. That's what I told her literally today. I love her. So I really would.
Mike needs to get off these Twitter streets. Janelle's gonna be on him.
Oh. Yep. Janelle's gonna give it to Mike, like Kuzi said she was gonna give it to May. She's gonna what did she say? She was going to destroy her with her, or she? I think. What did she say? She said something like destroy her. Verbally destroy her. Yeah.
Yes, she's so good. She's so spicy, but it's like a fun spicy, like the kind you like. It reminds me of Ika a little bit. Like fun spice. I need her back on Big Brother. She needs a second shot at that game. She would slay. I love her.
Yeah, or even like get her on Survivor, get her somewhere, I don't know, something. I would love to see her. Challenge, something like that. I would love to see her. She said I'll slaughter her with words. So Janelle's going to slaughter Mike with words on Twitter. So watch out, Mike. And that's really where we end. Everybody's celebrating. Everybody's really excited. Kuzi tells us in the in her confessional, like, Mike is going to owe me money. I'm going to give him a call after this because, in the preview, we've talked about it a little bit. We see blackmail. He's going to have to blackmail someone into becoming a traitor. So, like we kind of mentioned, usually, or at least what I've seen is that, it's either you become a traitor or you get murdered. So who's going to take murder over being a traitor? I don't know, but maybe there's someone out there. Quentin says last season that if he was cast and they made him a traitor, he would have quit the show. So let's see if anybody else on this show, this man would have flown to Scotland for a show called Traitors, and then if he got cast as a traitor, he would have quit the show. Let that sink in for a second, okay? Then we see Trevon is on to Mike. He says in the preview, Kuzi put 3 exclamation points in her vote. That means I feel like she was trying to tell us something. And I'm like, yes,
please,
run
please,
with that, Trevon.
Please.
Run with that, Trevon. Run with it. Run with it.
I need him to trust your gut. I know you ain't trusted it all season and you keep getting it wrong because he still voted for Mike. Well, he's technically right, but
he's right. I mean, either way, they would have gotten a traitor out. So either way, they would have been celebrating at the end. If it just would have been, unfortunately, if didn't go our way. It didn't go Kuzi's way. It went Mike's way this time. But I just truly, and I don't want to say I want to read the edit, but like, I just can't see the edit being so Mike heavy and then him winning. Like, it just feels like it's too heavy handed for him to have a winner's edit.
Yeah. I don't see it. I just don't see a realm where Mike wins. There's too much suspicion on him. I don't think, did he beat Kuzi? Sure. But like, at the end of the day, the point of the game is to win, and I don't think that he's done enough to win. I don't think he's made great moves. Maybe he made good moves to get out Kuzi, but this is not Big Brother. It's not Survivor. You're not trying to get one person out. You're trying to get to the end and win money. And I unfortunately don't feel like Mike is set up to win. But we'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Katie has me on the Trevon train. So
come join me. There's space on this train. There's space.
I am Team Gerline or Trevon. Like, if it can end with one of those two being successful in some way, especially destroying Mike's life, I'll be happy. Settle for that,
We also
Yeah,
saw
I'm all
Gerline
in.
Gerline in the preview also said, let's just vote out Mike this week.
Yes.
So I don't know if that like confuse us or what context she said that, but I'm interested to see in what context, in next week's episode that she say that and who she said that to.
Yeah, Mike, like, I don't know if he thinks this is going to put him in the clear or not, but like clearly people are still thinking about Mike. So I'm looking forward to seeing his plan and how he plans on getting himself out of this and how everybody else plays against him. But I do think with Trevon, who has been loud and wrong in the past, but is now loud and right, at least, and Gerline, who's smart and she's a gamer, we'll see. I don't know if she's blackmailed or not. I don't know who he's going to plan on blackmailing. I mean, the options so far are Donna, Mickey, Trevon, Gerline, and Leroy. So, I mean, like, who are you choosing here? I don't know. You have to choose Gerline. Like, who are you choosing? This
Maybe
is just a mess.
Mickey, because Mickey hasn't really done much.
Honestly, I don't think Mickey would be the worst choice either. I think he is probably someone who would just like do whatever Mike says.
Yeah, so maybe you want to follow type of person.
Yeah, maybe you don't want someone that's going to think for themselves.
That he doesn't think can rub two brain cells together in order to orchestrate him getting him out. And
I wonder too, like, is it better to choose someone who has suspicion on them? Probably. And if Mickey for some reason has suspicion, if some of Kuzi's groundwork worked a little bit, I don't know, maybe. So that's our episode. Rest in peace to our girl Kuzi. It was an entertaining episode, but it was infuriating at the same time. I want to see these questions go to Mike next week. I want to see these people saying, like, you were really different last night at the round table. What made you so sure of Kuzi? How'd you know? How did you know? How are you so sure? And just call him out a little bit, but we'll see what happens. Any final thoughts?
No, just thanks, Kuzi, for gracing us with your presence again. That's it.
This was another rough episode for me. Love you, Kuzi.
I know this is a twofer for you.
But again, we're gonna end the episode, and I'm gonna talk about her again. My girl May. Shout out to you, May. If you ever want to come on Silent Podcast and talk to me, I would love to hear you talk to me and Katie about, because I don't know, I loved your game and you were a great TV. So shout out to you, May. But also, Kuzi, I'll miss you.
We can reach out to May. Just tell her not to listen.
Yeah.
Before she comes on. She can listen to your parts, just mute when I talk and listen to you.
Yeah.
And we'll be great.
Tell her.
Yeah, I know. I know. All right. Well, I mean, we have 6 people left. 1 traitor. Maybe someone might get murdered. We're coming to the end. So I have to assume there's only maybe 2-3 more episodes left. So we'll be here. We'll be here throughout. We'll be breaking it down. But in the meantime, Javier, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so everyone, you can find me at _the_Starboy on Twitter. I share all my thoughts on the shows that I'm watching. And of course, you can find me here every week talking Sign the Traitors with Katie. And thank you again, Janelle, for joining us. It was great having you this week.
Thank you for having me. Anytime, guys. You can find me. I'll just go jump into it. I'm just Janelle Michelle on everything, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find me tweeting about the shows that I like as well. I've been talking this show actually with a friend of mine over on Entertainment in Color. So find me there as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much again, Janelle, for being here. It's always great to have you on our various podcasts here on Silent Podcasts. It was great to chat with you. And shout out to you, too, for all the great exit press that you've done for us this season on Big Brother. You crushed it. So shout out to you. Go check out our exit press if you haven't. Janelle and Isaiah did a great job with Mimi. Isaiah and I chatted with Jag. There's interviews out there, so check them out. And you could find me on Twitter at RealSlimKatie. You could find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSlimKatie with an _. I'll be back after the holiday in full swing, hopefully. And you can find me here every week. That's it. One podcast. That's it. Big Brother's over. Bravo's on hiatus for us. It's not on hiatus in real life. Bravo is like giving right now, by the way. But Carrie and I are on a little bit of a hiatus while she's living her best life. She's just a busy woman. So we'll be back one day soon, hopefully. But shout out to Carrie. We love her. So yeah, catch us here every week. And you can catch us at Silent Podcast talking all things. We're doing a ton of Survivor coverage. Shout out to Gia. She's doing a great job. Mark and Josh are doing Lego Masters coverage. I think Mark just put out a Buddy Games interview with one of the teams. So if you watch that show, definitely check that out. So we have a lot going on here. Now, Big Brother's over, but that doesn't mean we're over. Isaiah's back with his casting streams, I think with Lavina mostly. So there's a lot of content happening. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can find it. Just check out what's up on our screen. If you follow us at Twitter, you can do that at silent_podcasts. Search for us on YouTube and Twitch at Silent Podcasts. You can find us there. And you can find us on any podcast app if you just search Silent Podcast. Subscribe to us. We put all of our stuff out on audio. So like, comment, rate, subscribe, give us 5 stars. It's a free way to support us and help us out, help us get discovered. So we appreciate it. And we will be back next week. Happy holidays to anybody celebrating Thanksgiving. I know we're talking about Canada, but we're all based in the US. So we have Thanksgiving this week, but we'll be back next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.